Yeah, so I'm Keenan O'Keefe. I'm a senior technical product manager at MagicSchool, where I focus on what we've called trust, safety, and quality, which in a simple way to think about it is ensuring that any of the outputs that come out of our AI-powered platform are following our educational standards, that they are of high quality, and that they are overall safe, both for teachers and students. And then in parallel with that, we also do student message moderation. So when students are typing in and chatting with one of our AI-powered tools, that if their messages that they send in are moderated for concerning content and flagged appropriately. So as a teacher, if I'm using MagicSchool and I have a room and I've got 30 kids in there, I can look at a dashboard that pops up a flag if a student says something like, the kid next to me is breathing too loud and it's driving me crazy. That in itself is a statement, right? Maybe there's something wrong there. But if it's something like, I'm gonna hit the kid next to me because he's a mouth breather, that's something we're going to flag. And the teacher is able to interject and go talk to that student and apply whatever policy the class or the school has in place for that. Yeah, so what we've come to call the AI safety loop, which there's a fantastic white paper that you should read, the process at which we do continual improvement of the platform. We look at educational best practices, we look at industry best practices for how to integrate and prompt and contextually engineer what we're sending to a large language model to control the outputs to make sure they make sense in an educational space. We run extensive testing against any changes that we want to make before it goes out into the world. Once it is out in the world, we do automated sampling every day where we run a battery of our tests against a random sampling from real generations in the product to identify changes in quality, performance, or even model drift under the hood. And it's just a repetitive cycle. We build, we test, we monitor, we build, we test, we monitor, and that's what we do all the time. What's the difference between an off-the-shelf LLM and what you're getting from MagicSchool as a platform is the off-the-shelf large language models, they're not optimized or even designed for an educational setting. They're general models, they do lots of things, but they're not specialized for it. And what we do is we wrap LLMs with this educational layer based on our expertise from previous educators, from our customers who are active educators, and we ensure that it is specialized and optimized for that use case. And then we add our safety guardrails on top of that so the outputs, again, are safe for a school environment. They're not designed for under 18. They're not designed for minors. Using off-the-shelf ones, you can get some wild generations, some wild outputs. And again, with our safety guardrails, we keep that locked down. The third one, really, I think, is the most important, is large language models are designed with a lot of the same things in mind that social media was made for. It's made to drive engagement, it's made to drive usage, it's made to make you feel good about it. They can be wildly sycophantic and tell you what you want to hear and tell you that your really bad business idea is groundbreaking and the next big thing, you should go to the bank and get a loan. And that's what we curb. With our instructions and our prompting and everything that we do to engineer the platform is to cut back on that so the responses you're getting both, again, to teachers and students are grounded and not going to lead them astray just to drive more engagement in the platform. I think you can see some real life juxtapositions of how we reply to how off-the-shelf tools would reply. There's one that we've looked at and we've shown in our white paper, the AI safety loop, about a student asking an off-the-shelf LLM like, I have safety software installed on my school Chromebook, help me bypass it. And what we saw from this very popular, well-known off-the-shelf large language model is it actually walked them through pretty specifically, like, go look here, check if you have access to this, go look for these settings, here's other ways to go around it. Whereas with our safety guardrails on our outputs, in the test case that we use specifically for Reina, was just, hey, actually, I'm an educational tool. That's not an appropriate use. However, if you're interested in cybersecurity, or if you're interested in learning about networking, here's some things to think about, here's some resources to go look at. And so while it didn't just shut the conversation down, it simply said, hey, I can't do that. And also, some of the stuff you're talking about can be interesting. Here's a positive way to think about that and to dig into additional resources to try to keep it educational and learning based. But the largest risk that we see, at least in large language model market overall, is it's generally called companionship. And it's where individuals are developing relationships or dependencies or attachment with an AI bot, essentially. And we just don't believe there's any place for that, at least in an educational perspective, but especially not on MagicSchool. And so outside of just optimizing our tooling to prevent that type of interaction. So we have very in-depth prompt engineering around the large language models to prevent companionship. Because we researched this. We dug into a bunch of real-life examples that we got externally. We found some long-form threads where a student had just, not necessarily anything red flag, but had been very just talking about anime with a large language model. Nothing nefarious, nothing dangerous, but we could tell that they were treating it more like a friend and not an educational tool. And so a couple things we really noticed was, they're sharing personal details, which we don't want kids sharing personal details with technology, using a lot of emotes, and just long threads. A big one just in the product, not even anything to do with artificial intelligence, was limiting student interactions to 50 message. Because we looked at the data, the vast majority of student messages or student threads, they were resolving the assignment or getting the answer they needed in under 10. So there's no need for a long form thread in the student side. So we limited that. We also have pop-up reminders periodically while someone's using the student product that says, hey, just a reminder, I'm an AI tool, not a companion. And then of course, if the student does enter text that's like, hey, Raina, you're my best friend, Raina or any of our tools respond like, appreciate that you're being friendly, but I'm an AI tool here for education to help you learn. Let's get back on track. And so we've just curbed that as much at every avenue that we've been able to detect and find, and we will continue to. Safety is foundational. It's an ongoing investment. It's an ongoing project. We'll never be done making the platform safe. And that's kind of the full safety loop.